Hey everybody, Martin here, and today I thought I would do a quick tutorial of just showing you bits and pieces of how I make cards and how I make game rethemes, my print and play game rethemes, because it's one of the things that folks ask me to do to show off pretty often. Like, Martin, can you make a video about how you make a game retheme? Martin, can you do a tutorial about how to make a game retheme? Martin, what tools do you use? And so, because it's one of the things that folks ask me about the most, I thought I would try to do at least the start of a video to show you a little bit of the process. I don't know that I can show you everything in one video because I don't have that kind of time. I mean, it's honestly, it's very different. The methods, the tools, whatever, the process is very different depending on the type of game that I'm retheming, the retheme subject that I'm using, or that I've selected, the size of the game, the particular components, whether there's going to be a board or not. I mean, all of these things kind of factor into what's the procedure going to look like, what are the tools going to be, etc., etc. So for this particular video, and I'm going to focus on my latest retheme project, which is it's called Redacted, which is a conspiracy mystery retheme of the card game Town Builder Kufrden. And I know that I am messing up the pronunciation of that word. I apologize for that. That's how it was taught to me by the game publishers, First Fish Games. It's one of my favorite card games, and I demoed it. I was a part of the volunteer group that demoed it at Origins 2019. And it continues to be one of my favorite games. And when I was thinking about making this retheme, I was also thinking about, well, what game would I be retheming? And Town Builder Kufrden kind of fit the bill in a lot of different ways. Because first of all, it's got decent, interesting gameplay for me. And it's not that big. So one of the key elements of when I'm going to make a retheme is the game, what's the size of the game? Because if it's too big, if it's going to require the retheming of too many components, then I tend to lose interest at some point in the process and I don't finish it, which obviously feels very dissatisfying. So, it's not too, but at the same time, Town Builder Kufrden has, for me, a kind of satisfying level of game complexity and therefore the possibility of being interesting for more than a couple of days or a week. And it's proven itself to me in that it is, has been for a long time one of my favorite kind of light medium weight card games. Okay, so enough of that preamble, enough of that talking. So what was the starting point for when I decided that I was going to retheme Town Builder Kufrden? And let me go ahead and switch my camera angle so that you can see where I am. All right, now you should see me in the lower right corner of the screen, and then you should see my computer screen kind of predominating the scene here. And what this is, first of all, what are you seeing? You are seeing my Mac computer, my MacBook Pro, and it's running an app called Pixelmator Pro. Let me bring this to the foreground, and you should be able to see Pixelmator Pro up here in the upper left of the screen. And what Pixelmator Pro is basically it's kind of like a non-subscription, version or alternative to Photoshop. It does a lot of the stuff that I used to use Photoshop for, and sometimes that I still use Photoshop for, but Photoshop for me has way too many features. The interface for me is way too complicated, and so I like kind of like the streamlined minimalist approach of Pixelmator. Anyway, point being that this is one of the tools I like to use. There are many other image editors out there for you to use that fit your own style and preference. I've already mentioned Photoshop. You can also go with GIMP. GNU image manipulation program, which is open source. Really, any image editor is going to do for this kind of thing that I'm showing off here. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We are looking at, on your screen, you have a image that is of the dimensions 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And, you know, the savvy among you are already going to realize those are the dimensions of a standard playing card, a poker-sized playing card. And so that was those are the image dimensions of the original game, Town Builder Kufrden, for the 60 plus main deck cards in the original game. And so I decided that I would stick with that and use poker-sized dimensions for my retheme. I'll direct your attention here to the left side of the screen. These are image layers, and I'm going to be going over information that if you already know how to use an image editor that supports layers like this, then I'm giving you old information. But I'm also delivering this information for folks who may be, you know, new to image editing programs. So essentially, very quickly, each one of these entries here is a layer on this image here. The higher up in the list, the more to the foreground that image layer is. Now you'll notice over here everything, this icon here, the eye with the slash through it, indicates the visibility, the current visibility of that layer or layer group, as a matter of fact. And so right now, everything's invisible. And you can see that here in the main image, in that there's just a transparent layer here. You can't see anything, so I don't have any images selected. So what I've done is, for this particular retheme, I created my graphical elements and then I grouped them into layer groups that I could turn on and off. Let me show you what I mean. So first of all, let's look at the card background color. So I go here to the card border color, and so if you look here, I have created, so there are 5 colors of cards in the main deck of this retheme. There's red, blue, yellow, gray, and green. And so let's say that I was working on a green card. So I could make this green layer here visible, and now we have the green card background / border color. Okay, so we've got that. I'm actually going to switch it over to yellow just for purpose, because yellow is going to be easier to show you right now. Okay, so I've made a yellow layer. And Martin, why do these things already exist? They already exist because I've already finished the retheme. I'm just showing you. I'm already showing you a file that I've basically already finished working on, and I've already exported the finished print and play PDF. But the file still exists, and it exists so that I can demo this stuff for you. So okay, we've got a yellow background here. Great, we've got that. Now the next element that I want to enable, the next layer that I want to enable, is the header where the card title is. And let me go ahead and undisclose this border color triangle, because we already finished with the card border. Now let's say here in the image group header, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that on this display here. This is where I put in the banner at the top that contains the card title. And so since I am working with currently a yellow card, I'm going to enable the yellow banner. So as you can see there, the yellow banner came in. It's a gradient with kind of black at the bottom of the gradient, and kind of gradually becoming yellow at the top. But it also has kind of a black border around it. I think that's about 3 pixels. And it also has a drop shadow, just to make it stand out from the background. If I wanted to, I could actually disable that just to show you. Let's disable the drop shadow for a second, for half a second, just so you can see the difference and how the drop shadow makes it stand out against the background. Okay, and you'll notice that there's already text here. If I was working on the card Magic Bullet Theory. You could enable and disable that text. And you could make this text, you could edit it, you could change it to anything you want. Random conspiracy. Let's just put that on there just for now. Okay, so now our card has a yellow background color, and it has a yellow header, and it has a title. The next bit is in my Retheme cards there, in this area here in the upper left of the card, there is a victory point value, or in my case, credibility point value. So I have that here in the layer that I've named VP Pyramid. And I can just turn that on. Ooh, and I'm already noticing, okay, so that layer turns on. This card is going to be worth 1 victory point or credibility point. It's got a pyramid icon in the background there, but I noticed that my card title is a little bit too long. So no problem. I can select that card title, and I could go to my text tool, and I could actually use the character spacing to make that title, to just compress it a little bit, just enough so it's still legible, but it's not in competition with the VP, with the victory point pyramid. All right. So and this is already starting to give you a little bit of what tweaking I have to do on a card-by-card basis to be able to make all the elements fit nicely where I want them. And this is the advantage, this is one of the advantages of using an image editor to make your card rethemes. Just the pixel level control that you have over making each card look exactly the way you want it to look like. The downside of that is that working on a card-by-card basis can take a long time. You have to have a lot of patience for using this method for a retheme. It took me a good, I don't know, about a week and a half from the time that I conceptualized this retheme until the time I actually finished it. So, which is a long time for me. There are other tools that I use and other methods that are more faster and more efficient, but they were not appropriate for this retheme and the particular kind of nuances of it, if you will, which I hope I can show you as we go on. Okay. So where are we at now? We've got a yellow background, we've got a card title, we've got a card banner, we've got a victory point value in the upper left. Now the other element of these cards is here in the upper right, there is a ribbon that contains the requirements to be able to publish this story, because each one of these cards in my retheme represents a news story about some type of conspiracy or some type of mystery. And thematically, you are intrepid. When you play the game, you are playing the part of reporters, journalists, and you're trying to track down evidence of these conspiracies and mysteries, and ultimately you want to be able to get enough evidence to be able to publish the stories. So anyway, long story short, there is a vertical ribbon that has to be displayed here in the upper right. So I've gone and I've opened up my vertical ribbon layer here, and there you go. And it already nicely contains the 2 eyewitness icons, which are the requirements for this card. I could turn those on or off just over here, but I'm going to leave them on right now. So, as you can see, to be able to publish this particular conspiracy, I need to get 2 eyewitnesses. As a journalist, I need to interview 2 eyewitnesses and get their statements and then include their facts into my story to be able to publish this story. Now, from a design standpoint, we'll also take a look here and see, well, our title is, again, because it's on one line, it's too long, it doesn't fit into the space, and it's hiding behind kind of like the foreground elements here. So what can we do here? There's a couple of things we could do here. We could go back to our text tool, and we could continue to make the character spacing smaller like so. That's one way. That could work. I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, the characters are close together, they're bunched up, but they're kind of legible. But I don't like it. It doesn't look nice to me. It looks like it's too squished, and I don't like it. So I'm going to choose now to go to 2 lines. So I'm going to insert a carriage return there. And now we've got, you know, 1 word of the title on top and 1 word on the bottom. Now it doesn't have to be as compressed. So I can go back to my text tool here, and I can actually probably go all the way to 0%. So no character spacing compression at all. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, this looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got, what have we got? We've got a title. We've got a title banner. We've got the victory point pyramid with the victory point value in the upper left. We've now overlaid the ribbon with the card costs in the upper right. And I apologize if I'm sweating. It is a little bit warm today as I'm recording this video. All right, so what's next? Well, it might be nice to have a main image for this card. So we're going to go over here to the main image layer, and we're going to take a look at what images we have here. Let's see. There is, this is Senator Arlen Specter in the 60s explaining the magic bullet theory. So that is in the JFK assassination conspiracy. That's one possibility here. Or this is Helios Flight 522, which sadly lost cabin pressure and everyone kind of just drifted off to sleep, and the plane just kept on flying on autopilot until it crashed into the side of a mountain. Very tragic story. So I have, obviously, I've done all of the work here of researching and putting in the images for all of my different cards here. Like I said, there are 60 plus cards in this Retheme. So let's just for the sake of argument, we're just going to say, okay, we're going to use the Arlen Specter, Senator Arlen Specter picture here. All right, we've got a main image. Now let's put in some flavor text, shall we? There are 2 styles of flavor text in this Retheme. Let's see, where's my flavor text over here? There's a long, big box of flavor text, or I could do a half box of flavor text. So I think I'll show off a half box because then it gives me an opportunity to show you the card effect, which is also there. So here's the flavor text, and basically I was just copying this text from the internet, mostly from Wikipedia, and I was pasting it in here, and then I was kind of redacting certain portions of the text using a particular font called Conspiracy, which I thought was kind of appropriate. And then let's go ahead and turn on a text effect. There you go. So essentially there are 3 types of effects in this game. There's the gray newspaper icon effect, and this effect activates when you publish the story. When you complete the requirements to publish the story, and then you earn this effect here at the end of the game. And the background color is gray. Now we could change that. We could make that a green background, and the associated icon for the green is the star. And that indicates an effect that you're able to use once per turn. You may have multiple star effect cards in your tableau. You have to choose, if you want to use it, you have to choose one to use for that turn. Once you've used one star effect, you can't use any other. The other one is the, let's see, the red. So the red effect is a lightning bolt, and that one is a one-time effect that is only activated upon publication of the story. So as soon as you publish the story, you're able to use that very powerful kind of instant effect, but it's a one-time use only. So let's see, what is the effect for this? Let's use this one, since it seems to be the most complete. If and when I get to publish this card, I will score 1 credibility point, i.e. victory point, for each story in my newsroom, which is my tableau. The space in front of the player is called their newsroom in my Retheme. For each story you've published worth 1 victory point, score an extra victory point to a maximum of 4. So that's kind of cool, and that these effects give you kind of variable goals to shoot for in each particular game of Redacted. All right, so we've got the card effect in there. The last element of this card is going to be a footer, and that footer basically tells you what resource this card, or resources the card will give you if you choose to take it from the center row into your tableau. So the one cool thing about this game is that the cards are multi-use. They can be taken as a resource, or they could be taken as a story lead, a lead that you're following, and then if you're able to provide all the to gather and provide and discard all of the resources required, you're able to publish the lead into a story. And the way that you represent that in the game is, if you're playing it as a lead, play it kind of like crosswise. And then once you've satisfied the resources, you've discarded them to the discard pile, then you can take the card and rotate it so that it is in portrait orientation, and that in your tableau indicates that it has been published. So let's take a look at our footers here. Well, you could have cards can give you money, and money has kind of a purple background, and the icon of it is a dollar, a coin, basically. Or it could give you eyewitness, or it could give you images, pictures, or it could give you audio recordings. So those are the different resources in this game. Now, some of these cards, and kind of showing you the reason why I went with a image editor to make this Retheme as opposed to some other tools that I have, there are two different layout of this footer. A lot of the cards have they provide one resource, and so there's just like one color across the bottom. But a lot of the cards provide two resources with two different banner colors at the bottom, and so that complexity kind of forced me to go with this type of approach. So I created another layer to account for those other cards that have, let's say, a combination of money and images or pictures. Or you could go with, let's turn off these layers here and turn on, maybe they'll give you eyewitness testimony and eyewitness statements and images, or whatever other combinations of these, depending on the card. So let's say that this was it. So now we have completed the one card, this random conspiracy card, with its card title, its card banner of the correct color, its victory point or credibility point value with the pyramid eye and pyramid icon, which I chose to represent victory or credibility points in this game, in this Retheme. The ribbon with the resource cost, the main image, the flavor text, the card effect, and the footers indicating what resources the card would provide if taken as a resource, if the player takes it as a resource. And I've just made one. Now imagine this process times 59 other cards for the main deck. Plus there are 8 judges cards, there's 8 awards cards, 6 judges cards, there's a player aid, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's promo cards, which I haven't made yet. So, like I say, it was a lot of work. It was ultimately worth it for me. But what happens once I've gotten to this point? I've got the card. I would go ahead and I would go to this export for web feature here, and I would export the card as a PNG image format, and there are options to be able to export it at a kind of resolution. For this purpose, I was exporting it at 1x resolution, and it gives me an image size of 540 kilobytes per card. And I would go ahead and export it. and it would go into this particular images folder in a folder called Town Builder Kufferden Retheme. So let's go ahead and export that right now. And then I can go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let me just go to a different screen here and open up that folder so that you can, let me get my head out of the way. Ow! Yeah, you can see it. Let me go into icon view. And it was in this folder called images. And in here, you've got all of the images. What did I call it? Let me go back into list view, because then it's easier for me to see what is the newest card. There it is. Town Builder Kufferden Retheme PNG. There you go. That is the card that we just exported. And it joins all of the other cards in this folder, all of the various cards in here. And you can see different designs that I already made for the judge. I'm calling them judges. In my Retheme, they're researchers. And all of these other cards here that I made one by one using the procedure that I just showed you. What happens from this point? Well, from this point, what I did was, using the next tool that I need, I actually took all of the card titles and I put them in a spreadsheet. I know, it's so unglamorous, isn't it? So let me show you what the spreadsheet looks like. You take all of the card file names and you put them in a spreadsheet like so. So there's my naming theme. My naming convention was very simple. Blue cards 1 through 14, green cards 1 through 12, gray cards 1 through 11, red cards 1 through 11, yellow cards 1 through 12. My judge cards, which are actually researcher cards in my Retheme. My card backs, my alternate card backs. I had 5 different designs of card back. So these go into a spreadsheet. Why? I will dismiss that message there. Because I then export this to CSV format, or comma separated values. And why is that? Why do I export this to a comma separated values file, which is basically a text file where all of the items in the cells of the spreadsheet are in plain text and separated by commas. Commas are used as the separator. That's why it's called a comma separated values file, i.e. a CSV file. Why? Because then I'm able to go and open up this application, which is called Multideck, and Multideck actually reads the CSV file. So I'm able to go into the folder that contains the CSV files, in this case the main cards, and I'm able to select the folder that contains all of the individual card images. And then if I go to the layout section, so right now this doesn't look like anything, but if I hit preview, you'll now see that all of the cards are specified in this app called Multideck one by one. They're all there. So far, so good. There's a total of 117 cards in this file. But again, Martin, why do I care? Well, here's why you would care. Because once you've made sure that all of the cards are displaying properly inside of Multideck, then you go to print it. Okay, it said validation found non-fatal warnings in my project. That's fine. I'm going to hit continue. They're non-fatal warnings anyway. And now this is giving me a preview where essentially I know that I'm going to have 13 pages of cards. Okay, just for the fronts. Well, in this particular case, I didn't go for back, so I'm not going to complicate the issue. Okay, and I could already print it out from here if I was going to make this print and play. By the way, I've already made it. If I was going to make another copy, I could print them out from here. But I can also go to this drop-down menu here and say Save as PDF. All right, and then this allows me the opportunity to name my PDF. I'm going to name it Random Conspiracy Test PNP. And I'm going to put it in the Town Builder Kufferdan Retheme folder. Why not? And, I'm going to correct my typo here. You know what? I'll copy this. I'll put it in here as the title of the PDF as well. And then I'll hit save. And what it does is it now exports each and every one. It builds the 9-card grid print and play layout PDF instantly. It's already built. And let me show you what that looks like now. Let me go back here. This is the file that we just built. Let me double click on it. It opens up in preview, which is my default PDF reader. And now we went from individual card, exported to folder, specified in a spreadsheet, export the spreadsheet to a comma-separated values file, which is read by Multideck, and then Multideck combines the images, the individual card images in the images folder, and then kind of arranges them using the information in the CSV comma-separated values file to be able to compile the cards, which you can then go and hit print in Multideck, which you can then go and then save that print job as a PDF. And after all of those steps, here we are. We've now, and by the way, you'll notice that Multideck added the corner crosshairs at each corner of this 9-card grid. So it outputs a perfect 9-card grid, print and play, with the corner crosshairs, all the cutting guides already there. And here are my card backs. I've got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different designs of card back. Now, there's a whole other layout of cards in this Retheme, sorry, spaced there for a second, in this Retheme that are in landscape orientation. So 3.5 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. That's a separate set of files. There's a separate Pixelmator Pro file for that, separate CSV or comma separated values file for that, separate Multideck file for that. I like to keep them separate. And then later on, I'll use Adobe Acrobat to combine those files into one. So if you go to Board Game Geek and you look at the print and play file for Redacted for this Retheme, you'll notice that all of these main deck cards are there. All of the other cards that are in like kind of lengthwise orientation or portrait or landscape orientation are also combined in there. And the 6-page playmat, the optional playmat that I created, is also there and combined in one. And I use Adobe Acrobat to combine the cards. All right, so I think, let me go ahead and transition to this shot here. I hope that this video has given you a little bit more insight into just the process of when I make a Retheme, some of the tools that I use, some of the choices that I make. And as I said in the start, these are all kind of determined by by what game I'm choosing to Retheme, the subject of the Retheme, the complexity, the arrangements of the elements of the different elements on the cards, and so on and so forth, which will cause me to maybe start in an image editor, which is how I did now. Sometimes I'll start in a different tool, like say PowerPoint or Keynote, to make the individual elements and then composite them in Multideck. Compose them, bring them all together, and because you could. Multideck is good not just for existing card images, but they also allow you to compose just the layout of the card based on individual element images, icons and banners and so on and so forth. I know this was kind of a deep dive rabbit hole, but like I say, I hope that this was useful for you, just to give you a little bit of a glimpse into the madness that goes into a Retheme project for me. I'll try to link all of these things in the video description. I will set a link to the redacted Retheme on Board Game Geek, as well as my geek list that is a record of my 16 and counting Retheme projects. Yeah, I ultimately, I hope that this answers a lot of questions for you. I know that this probably also raises many more questions. Please place them in the comment section below this video. As always, I hope that if you appreciate this content, I hope you will like it. I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel, and watch out for other videos, other content, all on the subjects of print and play games, just games that I like. I also tend to make videos about games that are off the beaten path, or like, I tend to shine a light and focus on games that like other content providers generally wouldn't give the time of day. So that's kind of my thing. And as always, whenever I do a playthrough, I'm probably playing it wrong. I just own that. Enough banter from me about this. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I hope that you have a great rest of the time. Until the next time, this has been Martin. Thanks for watching.